new, if it's a new client, we gotta create what's called a virtual folder. Just like we have a normal folder for a client, Victor's my buyer, I gotta create a folder with all the forms. Well, this we have to create it virtual. So what we have to do is create and click the word new at the top. So I'm gonna click it for what are we focusing on today? Are we getting a listing or are we writing an offer?
Listing.
It's a listing, so we are gonna click on new listing. So you guys can see, it's creating the virtual folder. We're gonna go to where it says at the top right, where it says all forms. All forms. Create templates, and we can do another class, maybe next Friday, on how to create templates. Templates is already the forms that you're gonna need for an offer, a listing, so that when you meet with your client, you can literally write an offer or a listing in minutes. You don't have to be adding forms. So this one is already a folder with all the forms needed. So we are gonna start with the most important one, which is the cover sheet.
So is this your template?
This is one of the templates that I've created. Correct. This is my account. For those that are here and for those that are going to be watching, we got to put the names of the buyers. Now, if there's only one buyer, then we just deal with the top. If we deal with two buyers, two brothers, spouses, two siblings, we put the buyer's name on each. Where it says street address, we don't have to put the address of where the buyers live. The sellers and listing agents don't need to know where my buyer Victor lives. Just name, last name. Don't worry about home number and fax and none of that. Just name and last name of the buyer, the way it appears on the approval letter. So for example, if the approval letter says Lizzie Gonzalez Perez Dominguez, guess what you're gonna put right there? Exactly the way it shows, because that's the way we're gonna write the what? The listing. Now, we don't have a buyer yet, do we? Because this is the listing, right? So do we fill this out right now? Nope. We're gonna fill what? The seller portion. The number of a house. If we go to the county recorder's office, and let's say my buyer Victor wants to know if he can create an ADU in the back of that property. He's gonna say, hey, can you give me information on 123 Main Street? They're gonna say, what's the APN? So APN is what's attached to that house. Do at least 6 months, because this is where we have to study the market. If it takes 30 to 38 days to get a buyer, and then another 30 to 45 days to close it, if you do a 60-day escrow, guess what? You guys will be unemployed before the escrow closes. Give yourself some time. It doesn't mean we're gonna sit on the listing for 6 months, but give yourself some cushion. 640,000. We don't worry about the balance of the first mortgage and none of that, because when we get it into escrow, we are going to ask the seller to provide a recent bank statement so that escrow can order the payoff. That's not my job. I'm not going to worry about any of this, at least not yet. On the forms, the first one is the office. The office has to have a broker license. And then the listing agent. Let's make sure that we have that so that we are in compliance. The first thing that we're going to see is a very important disclosures, which I want us to get familiarized with the names of the forms. AD, agency disclosure. So we have to know how to explain it. What is this? Well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this will allow me and my office authorization to start marketing your property, negotiate on your behalf, accept offers. And when I say accept them, meaning receive them, not accept them as the terms, but you're authorizing me to negotiate and present offers to you and on your behalf. So agency disclosures basically says, I am the seller's agent, and I'm gonna, exercise diligent, reasonable skill and care and performance. I'm gonna be honest and fair with my dealings and always in good faith. I'm gonna put your needs first. This is a 2-page document. And you only have to worry about the first is, we gotta make sure that our listing agreement has a beginning and an ending date. Look at this. You got the seller's name, John and Mary. You got John and Mary are employing KW the Lakes. You guys see this? As the broker. They're employing KW the Lakes. And KW the Lakes is employing Victor. You're going to handle the transaction, Victor, but they're employing us. But because you work for the broker, even though we're independent contractors, it's not going to have your name because all listings belong to the broker. So this is an exclusive listing. Exclusive means that no matter who brings the buyer, you will get paid. If it's a non-exclusive listing, whoever brings the buyer will get paid. So you want to make sure that it's always exclusive. Very important. Again, counties, APNs, address, all of that good stuff. And here's one of the most important things: listing period. Make sure that it has a beginning and an ending date. I once saw a $1.5 million listing that had a beginning but no ending. Guess what? That is voided. Null and void. After 2-3 weeks, this was at an office that I used to work at. I hadn't even opened my own yet. The seller was not happy with the performance. The listing agent thought that he could strong arm the seller, only to realize that your listing agreement was null and void from day one. So it was easy for the seller to get out because we didn't have an ending date. So that little thing cost them probably about $25,000, $30,000. So always have a beginning and an ending date. And when it's residential, you want to do at least how many months? 6. If it's vacant land, at least a year. Maximum length. Remember, do not exceed 24 months. So if it's 1 to 4, we're doing it with 6. You can always extend it. Hopefully we don't need 6 months if we price it correctly, if we're marketing it, we're doing all the things that we need to do. In any market, a property should sell in way less than that. The list price, $640,000. There it is. We're so excited. We want to get out of there, and we're like, oh my God, I'll just worry about that later. No, take that extra minute and just say, Mr. Seller, is there anything that you're taking with you? It'll only take a few minutes. They'll appreciate it, and your pocket too. Items included. What's included? Are we leaving the washer and dryer? Are we leaving that 24 cubic refrigerator stainless steel? Are we leaving the stainless steel dishwasher? What about that stove? Is there anything else that we're leaving to sweeten the deal? Put it in there. Lien items. D as in David 4. What if they have a lien on something? There's a program called Hero Program, very common. Hero Program or a Hero Loan. A lot of times sellers finance improvements on a house like double pane windows, new AC units, new heating, new furnace, solar panels, sliding doors, and they put a lien on the house. A lot of times based on equity that you may have. Well, there's lien items that the buyer may have to what? Assume. Hi, you've been seeing those. Buyer to assume $140,000. What? Yeah. We're skipping that one, baby. We're skipping that one. Save, always hit save, lien items. Let me see, there it is. Property will be marketed on the MLS. Yes or no? You'll be surprised how many sellers said, I don't want the property on the MLS. I don't want the property on the MLS. Well, how do you want me to market the house? It's impossible.
Unless it's you're going to sell it to an investor.
True, but if it's a primary, you want to maximize the potential.
Right.
Well, we got to put it on the MLS. So what do? We let the client know, hey, listen, we got to market the property. I'm going to put it on Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, Redfin, Keller Williams, my own website, our social media, my team's social media, the office's social media, but I need your permission. Because then they're going to say, well, privacy. I didn't want anybody to see my master bathroom. Well, I told you to not leave your chonies there. I had that, by the way. In 20 years, I have seen it all. One day I'm going to write a best-selling book, and hopefully you guys buy it. Publication of seller's willingness to consider concessions. Again, this is where we have to have the conversation and say, hey, selling for top dollar may mean you helping the buyer with some closing costs. Oh, no, I don't want to pay for that. Do you want to be in Arizona in 60 days? Let's do the right thing. When we start getting some offers, let's be open. Remember, when you bought the house, did they pay your closing costs? Yes, all 3% of it. Let's do the right thing. Let's remember, you get more bees with honey than with vinegar. Timing of possession, timing of presentation of offers. Seller instructs broker to present all offers received as soon as practical, or offers shall be presented on this day. Heidi may say, I don't want to see any offers until the first week of December. Okay, in the meantime, if they start piling up, you want me to just text you and let you know that another one came in, or just bring you all 70? Or she might say, no, present them as they come. Great. That is on F as in Frank 1. Buyer supplemental offer letters. This is a very important one. Supplemental offer letters. Seller instructs broker not to present buyer letters. This were very common. Now some of you might say, what is a buyer supplemental offer letter? It's those letters that sometimes agents, buyer agents and buyers write to make you stand out. But what do? You're steering. Steering is a violation of the fair housing laws. If I say, you're the seller, Victor, I'm going to say, hey, listen, my buyer, Haiti, when we went to look at your house, we noticed you're a veteran. And I'm going to use that towards my advantage. My buyer, Heidi, she served our country. She's a Marine just like you. And I would love if you can bless us with the opportunity to bless another Marine. Heidi never served, but we wrote a supplemental offer so that can convince the seller and be like, oh my God, Lizzie's offer is way better. But she's a Marine, she's a sister. Later on you find out that was a lie. You can sue me, you can sue the broker, you can sue my buyer. I never liked these letters. And I would tell the agents that would send them to me, I'm like, you know that is steering, don't you? You're steering. Yeah, but I wanted the seller to know that my buyers have 7 kids, and regardless, you're still trying to steer my seller. Don't do that. If your offer is going to be the winning offer, it's not going to be because your buyer has 20 kids. Be like, hey Victor, quick question. That Bose sound system, are you leaving the sound system in the house? Because he might be like, no, I'm taking that thing with me, man. Okay, well, before we put it on the market and take pictures, let's remove those, but don't leave a hole. Let's put something that's comparable, or at least cap them. Don't leave a hole and wires hanging. I've seen both sides. I've seen sellers that just left the holes, and buyers are wondering, what the heck is this? Address it before it becomes an issue. Broker responsibility, authority, and limitations. Remember, we have to disclose any and all material facts. If the seller tells you, the listing agent, you know what? I kind of had a leak last Christmas, and we kind of painted over it. So, I know you're working on my behalf, and you're taking care of my due diligence, and my fiduciary duty is to protect my interests, but we painted over it. I mean, nobody has to know, right? What do you think I should do? Disclose. I'm going to be like, Mr. Seller, what did you tell me? The minute that you tell me now, I am obligated to say what happened, because people will find out. And if they find out that I knew and I didn't say anything, my license and my broker license will be on the line. So always do the right thing, and always ask yourself, if I have to disclose, should I disclose? Just the answer will always be yes. Presentation of offers. There's some sellers that will say, you know what, the house is listed at $620,000. I don't want you to present anything that's below 5. Well, just so you know, Mrs. Seller, that may be a violation of the fair housing law. Well, let me know that an offer came in, but don't even bother bringing it to my house. Okay? Well, in case the buyer wants verification that the offer was even presented, I may have to have you sign page 10. When you write an offer, there's at the end of the page, at the end of the offer, there's a bottom paragraph that says rejection of offer. So if Lizzie has her house listed at 620, but Victor wrote an offer at 480 cash, and she doesn't want to present it, but Victor wants to make sure that the offer was presented to avoid discrimination or anything, my seller has to sign the rejection notice. When did you reject it, the offer? You know, November the 1st, and your initials. So that Victor knows, hey, you know what? I wasn't discriminated because I'm a Latino. Hey, you were not discriminated. Your offer was $180,000 low. And this is why it didn't fly. Make sure that seller's initial, supplemental offer letters. We talked about the buyer letters, investigations and reports. If the seller did a termite inspection prior to listing the house or calling you, they have to disclose those reports. Because what if Haiti did a termite inspection on her house prior to calling Victor, and she's like, oh shoot, it needs $5,000 worth of work. I'm just gonna pretend that this report never happened. And Victor says, well, we need a termite report now. Okay, well, order one. And he ends up ordering with the same company. It's happened, by the way. All these stories, I'm not just blowing smoke. Next thing you know, the company's gonna say, there's a termite report on file 3 weeks ago, and it was ordered by Haiti? Yeah, that's my seller. Well, yeah, she has a report, and it's got section 1 work of 5,000. Well, shoot, why didn't she tell me? I'm telling you, you find everything, good, bad, and ugly. Agency disclosure, obviously we talked about the agency relationship. We are protecting the seller's best interest. We have to present any and all offers unless they tell us otherwise, but we also have to let them know about the ramifications of not presenting offers, because we might be walking a fine line when it comes to the fair housing. Showing, how are we gonna show your house, Mrs. Seller? Because if I can't show your home and the access is restricted, how am I gonna show your house? You'll be surprised, sometimes sellers might say, I'm only gonna give you 2 hours on Sunday, and that's it, Lizzie. No showings Monday through Saturday. Well, darn it, unless Heidi is available and Victor's available for that specific hour, nobody's watching you, nobody's looking at your house. And then you're gonna be wondering, why is my house sitting on the market for 30 days? Because you've only given me 4 hours in the entire month to accommodate you. In a market like this, we gotta be flexible. And by the way, this has also happened to me, where we're like, no, I don't want anybody to bother me Monday through Friday. Well, then you start questioning the motivation. Do you really want to sell, or you just want to test the market? Unrepresented buyers, if a buyer is interested in viewing the seller's property and is not already represented by a real estate broker, and such buyer refuses to be represented by a broker, seller authorizes the broker to obtain a signed document from the buyer refusing representation. But at the end of the day, who's going to take care of the buyer's best interest? If you don't want to be represented, you just got to let them know of the pros and cons. Seller concessions. Concessions are monetary payments. Concessions like closing costs, concessions like repairs, or a credit in order to buy down the rate, things of that nature, in order to, make it easier for the buyer to buy the house. Photographs and internet advertising. I always let the sellers know, I'm gonna need your help. Victor, I need you to remove all the pictures on the walls, so that when buyers come in, they can see their wedding pictures. They can see the pictures of 2-year-old little Johnny instead of your little Johnny. And I'm not saying this to offend you. I want to make sure that we capture everybody the first time around. Because I've walked to houses and the walls are absolutely plastered with, Jesucristos that are the size of, 10 feet, and wedding pictures that are 50 by 40, and you cannot see past that. And the listing agent failed to have these conversations. And now the house looks way smaller than what it is, because it's just like, oh, too much. Key safe, lockbox, we talked about that. If the property is tenant occupied, the seller shall be responsible for obtaining occupant's written permission. If Haiti has a property and the tenant is Lizzie, Haiti needs to let the tenant know, hey, by the way, I put the house on the market, my realtor will be reaching out to you. We can do that too, and I encourage, but the seller has to reach out to the tenant. Equal housing opportunity, again, the property is offered in compliance with federal, state, and local anti-discrimination. In other words, we cannot advertise a house and say, this house is only for Latinos. What? That's how things were being done back in the day, before the Federal Housing Administration came into effect. There was just so many weird things happening. People were being discriminated left and right. Men, women, Afro-Americans, Latinos, you name it. It was like the wild, wild west. Attorney fees, obviously if somebody has an attorney representing them, who's gonna pay them? Dispute resolution, number 19, it talks about that before we go to court, if there's any disagreements, let's try to mediate. Let's have a meeting of the minds. Buyer and seller agents should not work against each other. They should work as a team. Because if Victor is representing Lizzie and I'm representing Haiti, him and I don't have to hate each other. If you do your job, Victor, and I do my job, our clients are gonna be happy and we're both gonna get paid. So let's work as a team. Instead of being at each other's throats like I see many times. So before we start threatening to sue each other, let's have a sit down and let's figure out what exactly needs to be done so that it's a win-win or no deal. Because, yes?
What is the main difference between mediation and arbitration?
First you mediate, let me see. I don't know what it says here. When you mediate, first you basically have a meeting with some sort of board, and you mediate to figure out so that you can de-escalate.
You have like a third party? who
Yeah,
like
that
to
doesn't-
Facilitate, and it's, let's say you're the buyer and I'm the seller, and you.
And they hire me.
Yeah, then you hire an arbitrator who's
That's
a
neutral.
neutral party.
Right.
Yes.
And then he doesn't take sides, he's kind of like an umpire.
Yes,
in
the
game.
referee in a boxing match, and I'm gonna say, you know what, based on what I heard, let's go with this.
Right.
And if you both cannot agree, then we gotta go to mediation
The
and
advantage-
arbitration. Now it's
Yeah.
it's more costly.
The advantage,
Yeah.
of mediation is that there's not hardly any cost to do it. It's-
Correct.
Whereas if you have to go through the judicial system to.
It'll be
fight
more
the case,
costly.
You're gonna spend a lot of money.
Arbitration?
Arbitration.
Arbitration is still less costly than a full-blown lawsuit.
Yeah.
That's why we do these, so that, because sometimes buyers and sellers may be fighting over $4,000. And you guys couldn't come up with a solution here. You get an attorney, he or she's gonna charge you $5,000 retainer. Lizzie's gonna have to pay that's already $10,000. We were fighting over $4,000. It makes no sense, but yet people do it. Why? Because of egos. Egos get in the way. So that's why if we mediate and then we do arbitration, well, if we do arbitration, the meeting has been recorded. Well, we haven't stopped yet. What happened here?
It also goes faster, you know, because you both want to settle, so you just get it all out in the open.
I don't know if it's still recording, but I don't know what happened to the Zoom. Let me see if I can test.
You want Amber?
Amber's coming. Amber to the rescue. Sometimes technology can be a blessing, but again, you don't get rattled up. I was presenting, and Mr. and Mrs. Zoom said, "We don't like your presentation." There it is. No need for fear. Amber is here. I didn't stop anything, so I don't know if we have to click record. So yeah, mediation and arbitration is way before it escalates into a full-blown lawsuit, where now we're talking tens of thousands, and if we were fighting over a $2,000 termite report, now, as they say in Spanish, el caldo salió más caro que las albóndigas. The chicken broth was more expensive than the chicken breast. But yet egos get in the way. They're like, I'm just gonna sue you. We're fighting over $1,000. Just give us that credit so we can close in 2 weeks. No, I'm gonna get an attorney. The attorneys are like, man, I love this. I'm gonna get paid 10 grand. Let's do it. I don't care. It's your money. That's gonna come out of the seller's net. Now you're gonna make less from the sale. And you still have to sell because you're getting into a messy divorce. What are we doing? So photographs, internet, again, discuss it with your clients and ask them, hey, in order for me to maximize the potential of your home, we got to take professional pictures, probably video, we're going to advertising on social media, the internet. Are you going to be okay with this? You'll be surprised. Attorney fees, management approval, we don't have to worry about that. Here is mediation, arbitration. If the seller and broker agree to resolve disputes, then we need another agreement. Entity is if the seller is like an LLC or a corporation. Legally authorized user if the property's in like a living trust. Who's the trustee to the trust? Who's the person authorized to sign? John and Mary are the sellers. KW the Lakes is the listing broker. Ulysses is the listing agent. Everybody signs. We got DRE licenses. Okay, come on. Sometimes technology. Here we go. We're opening it again. I'm still doing my own recording just so that we can, and I'm gonna edit it because obviously all the pauses, and sometimes that's what it takes me the longest, editing it so that our agents could view the video when they're not able to be here. So I'm gonna fast forward this because this we already saw, the agency, the residential listing agreement, and we're going through the residential one. So 1 to 4 units. If we do a triplex or 4 units, it's still residential. Anything over 4 units is considered commercial. Unrepresented buyers, we talked about that. Seller concessions, photographs, log boxes, equal housing, the legal authorized signer. Remember, who can sign a listing agreement? Only the legal owners. If it's husband and wife, it's 2 brothers, if it's 2 siblings, if it's the trustee of a living trust, if it's the person that's in charge of the probate, things of that nature. So they sign, and then multiple listing service addendum. Now this is not mandatory, but I like to use it, meaning that the seller gave me authorization to use the multiple listing service to promote their house. Because they might say, well, I don't want it on the MLS. Okay, well, we're going to be missing a lot of opportunities because thousands of agents are not going to know that your property's for sale. Are you going to allow me to put a lockbox? Are you going to allow me to use for sale signs and open house signs? Then they sign it, giving you authorization. Broker compensation. This just basically states that when you sell a property, there will be a compensation to the listing broker and the listing agent, as well as whoever brings us a buyer. That, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, will be coming out of your net when we sell it. If a buyer comes in unrepresented, somebody's going to have to represent him or her, which means that there's going to be an additional compensation. Whether it's 2%, 2.5%. Make sure that everything's in writing. Seller pays a commission. Who's paying the commission? That's why whenever we write an offer, which we went over last time, we put in there that the seller is to pay the buyer's agent commission. We start at 3. If they say, well, I'm only going to offer you 2, we're not going to sabotage the transaction. We'll take the 2 and we'll just tell the buyer, listen, in a normal situation, I probably would have given you an invoice for the balance, but I'd rather you give me a referral. Buyer negotiates for seller's compensation. Buyer's agent negotiates. Buyer sign, possible representation of more than one buyer. Again, if you have the listing, a buyer may come in unrepresented. They're going to need you to help them write an offer. We have to have permission from the sellers to see if they will allow you to do what? Dual agency. Like that example that I gave. I had a seller that says, I don't want you to double end it. I don't want you to do dual agency. Okay, I'm fine with that. But we addressed it early on. Dual agency, acknowledgement and consent, everybody signs. Fair housing and discrimination, again, we gotta present any and all offers. And since we're dealing today with a listing, we cannot advertise a listing only to a certain demographic. Hey, this house is only for Latinos. Or this house is not for sale for 2 women and children, women with children. All of this was happening back in the day. So a lot of laws were just absolutely in shambles. But you have to be fair in all of your practices. Always put the client first. Always do the right thing, and make sure that you understand the fine line when it comes to the fair housing. Do the right thing when nobody's watching. Present any and all offers. Don't steer clients. Don't do that, what's called blood busting, meaning obviously segregate and say, hey, listen, this house is only for Latinos, this community is only for Asians. You can't do that. Everybody has the right to live anywhere they want as long as they can afford it. Fair housing resources, if somebody wants to go deep and visit the website to satisfy their curiosity, they can do so. You just have the seller sign it, acknowledging that we went over that, so that in case they say, hey, the offer that you're presenting to me, are they Latinos? Because I only want my house to be sold to a Latino. This is seller. The only color that you should be focused on is the color green. It doesn't matter where they come from. So can we do that? I've had these conversations, by the way. Seller advisory, sellers obviously have to disclose anything and everything pertaining to the house. Like the example that I did about the mold. Oh, I painted over it. Don't tell me, because now I have to say it, Mrs. Seller. I wish you would have never told me. Anything you tell me, I have to disclose. Because not only my license is on the line, but my broker's license is on the line, my reputation. So I will always do the right thing. Marketing considerations, obviously, seller sign, California consumer privacy. We let the seller know that their information will be safe. We're not going to sell it as part of a database. We are not going to solicit them. Their information will be remaining private. Anything that we have from them will stay private. So that is actually it, the RLA. And if we were to list vacant land, then there is a vacant land listing agreement. For vacant land, you want to do at least a year, because we've seen some vacant lots. I know you and I have them, and you're talking 300 days, 400 days on the market. Unless the property is super, super affordable, and it's, across from the freeway, and it has permits and water and gas and electricity lines and super appealing, it's not going to go fast. I've seen vacant lots that are 400 or 500 days on the market. I've seen some vacant lots that go for as little as $5,000, 2-3 acres. So when somebody says, can you sell my vacant lot? Absolutely. We'll go through the comps, but we got to let them know vacant lots are going to take a little longer. So when were you planning on selling this? Oh, I want to sell this in 3 weeks. Well, then we better basically, I don't want to say give it away, but pretty close to it. And the listing agreement is going to be for a year. And vacant land, I've seen it and I've done it to where it's a 10% listing, because it's a smaller one. Now, obviously, when you're talking the millions, then you negotiate. You can say, hey, 8%. Because do you want to go to Barstow for a $1,000 commission? Again, we're business owners. It has to make business sense at the end of the day. Yeah, we're putting the client first, and we always will, but it has to make business sense. I don't want us to drive to Barstow or India or Coachella for a $5,000 vacant lot, and the commission is going to be $400, and we got to pay franchise fees, we got to pay a split, we got to pay a TC, we got to pay a coach. there's not gonna be enough for a Big Mac with fries.
Right.